Hello and welcome to another episode of Everything Hollywood with my friend Larry Namer. Hi, Larry.
It's good to be back. The first time we're together in
Yes.
the studio in probably a month, because I've been away, and then last week you were in here, and we did it all remote. So, which was kind of fun doing it remote, but it's definitely more fun when we're together.
It's more fun to be here. So what you been up to, Larry?
I was on the East Coast for a while, actually hanging out at the Jersey Shore. We're very different Jersey Shore than you see in the TV show. And then we went from there to a thing called Secret Knock, which is in San Diego County, which they do every year. And it's kind of a get-together, a lot of people that are, writers of like a lot of these self-help or improvement books and stuff, with a 3-day thing with kind of a very interesting, eclectic mix of people who come to hear these people speak. It was great. I met the guy who created Ugg boots.
Oh yeah,
it's kind of cool guy. And then a guy named Rob Angel, who did Pictionary, which then went on to thing. And his story is great because he made a lot of money really young on Pictionary, and he sold the company. But without really ever getting back into it, he somehow managed to preserve his wealth, which is very unusual in, the entertainment business. When people make a lot of money really young, they find a way to squander it, but not him. So he was good. And then, they, because of COVID, they kind of did this year a lot bigger than normal. And they had this, last day gala. And the performance is an eclectic mix. The first group on was Little River Band, which you forget. First I kind of laughed, but you forget how many songs they really had. All the words to all their songs, so that was kind of fun. And then it was followed by Coolio, who's still
Gangsta's
around and
Paradise.
still great, and he did Gangsta's Paradise, and he had the place up and dancing, and so that was really good. Organized by Dr. Greg Reed, and they're going to have the next one, I think, in March. It was in an Indian reservation, San Diego County, and great hotel, and it was fun. It was a good time. But now I'm back in LA and back to real life. So
So you stayed overnight at the casino, or
we stayed at Johnny went with Johnny Vegas went with me, and we were there for 3 days, and it was fun. We actually got to go. One of our friends is from around that area and knew some of these top chefs there. So we actually went one day. There was Chef Billy, who owns a farm where he does all his own vegetables and raises cattle and goats and all that kind of stuff. He actually has an outdoor kitchen. So we went there and had like a 10-course gourmet meal. It was fabulous and stuff. It was really good. It's not cheap. They get a lot of money for people who attend, but quite honestly, just the connections you make are worth it.
Really?
And as a matter of fact, I'm going to invite one person on as a guest because she was like a lot of fun. Her name is Claudia Wells. Claudia was in Back to the Future. She was Marty McFly's girlfriend.
Oh.
And she's doing a lot of interesting stuff now. I mean, including going to all these autograph signing things. And, she's kind of a cult figure. And, that film is iconic. I think they put it in the Smithsonian now. And so I talked to Claudia. She's going to come on probably in the next few weeks as a guest. And
Leah Thompson was there too?
No, just Claudia, not Leah. Leah played the mom.
I can invite Leah Thompson. I've known.
Oh really? Yeah.
No,
Leah
that'd be kind of fun.
Actually, be kind of fun to have both. Yeah, and so we got to spend some time with Gary Busey, with Tom Arnold, and
what? Tom Arnold, he's a fun character, right? He's a funny guy too.
Yeah, funny guy. And everybody has books, and they have one book signing night, and if you like to read, you could have picked up like 20 books from for nothing. All the authors would sign them for you to your name, and but it was good. It was a good
Well, next time you're in San Diego, you can go to my mom's house and she'll make you Afghan food.
There you go.
You know, and Johnny, of course, as well.
I'm trying to think, like, what is Afghan food?
It's a mixture of Indian, so you have some rice and some of the stew, and like the basmati rice. And
Okay.
you have that stuff. It's kind of like that. So, except it doesn't have a lot of curry, so it's minus the curry.
Right. Okay.
But anyway, so just glad to be here in the studio. It's a lot of fun. Obviously, in the entertainment front, lots been going on. One of the things that we've been talking about for a little while is the Black Widow lawsuit, right?
Settled.
Yeah. What do you? Okay, when I was reading about it, I didn't get a lot of information. But what do you think went on behind the scenes? It's all a guess, but I'm just asking.
Yeah,
what do you
they
think?
haven't published the details of it, but it was fairly obvious that they had to come up with a compromise.
Yeah.
I was so surprised that Disney took that hardline position that they did, because clearly, while they may have gotten away with not paying her for the TV related revenues, next time the contract comes around, now everybody's aware of, this new way of distributing films. It's going to be included in the contract, so you're going to pay the actors for it. So I was surprised Disney took that hard line, but finally, I think both sides realize that nobody's winning this battle. She does, great financially by doing all these Disney projects.
Yeah.
Disney makes a lot of money by having her in all these Disney projects.
Yeah.
It was in everybody's interest to find a way to settle it. So I'm sure they came up with some formula that, took into consideration, the potential lost revenue, the theatrical box office revenue, and what that could have meant to her. And, they made some settlement, which is probably in the middle. And, so nobody got everything they want.
Not the $50 million that she was asking,
Yeah.
right? Because that's what I read, that
Yeah.
she wanted $50 million.
I think it really comes down to like how much did it really affect the box office, and what would that have really meant to her if it was all done through theatrical release and stuff. And they probably came up with some percentage of that, just a way to settle. It was, like I say, everybody had an interest in getting that thing settled and behind them.
So she did get some money, correct? That's what.
From what I understand, yes, she got money. She was happy with the settlement, and everybody seems happy. Disney seems happy. She seems happy, and they're ready to do more movies together. So it's settled well, obviously.
Yeah. Well, why don't we take a short break, and when we come back, let's talk more about what's going on in the world of entertainment. So
Certainly.
Stay tuned. Welcome back, Larry. Halloween is coming up, right?
I know we're getting close again. It's amazing. It's coming around again, and be interesting. In the last year there was like no trick-or-treaters.
Yeah, I know.
But with the vaccine now, it looks like people are beginning to get back to normal, and so Halloween this year will be interesting to see what happens. But you got a little bit of good trivia that you shared with me before.
That was interesting too. But my 6-year-old son was telling me that he wants to go and see the new Halloween movie. What do you think of that, Larry?
Well, look, if your 6-year-old is mature enough to handle Halloween, I have a hard time with that movie.
He says, he goes, Dad, it's opening next Friday. He wants to go when I pick him up from school. He wants to go and see Halloween.
Yeah, no, kids are amazing, how they can consume some of this stuff. Like I say, if I watch it, it scares the heck out of me. Kids just realize that it's basically
he
a cartoon.
Finds it fun, Larry.
Yeah.
He finds it fun. It's like a fun thing. He's like, wow, look, the building is burning and Michael Myers is coming out of it, with a chainsaw.
The horror genre has been with us since movies began, and never goes away. And particularly from kids a little older than 6 through teenage, it's a mainstay. And then you get to anytime around Halloween time, and movies like Halloween and Scream and all of those things get incredible audience. Whether they be in the theater or they be on television or streaming or anything like that and stuff. But the movie that I think really sinks in is the Halloween thing, which
Yes.
the kid is interested in.
Yes.
And there's a great story about the Michael Myers mask that he wears in the thing. Which, do you want to go through that, or you want me to talk about it?
Well, we just found out from our famous Johnny Vegas namer here in the studio. So it would be great if he could tell it. But what do you? Yeah, go ahead and say, because I didn't know this. I just found this out.
They were making this very low budget movie, which turned out to be Halloween, which is a $1 zillion movie, the franchise, and they needed a mask from Michael Myers. So at Universal Studios, where they made the movie, they found a mask, a mold of a mask, and they used that to make the Michael Myers Halloween mask. As it turns out, it was a mold done of William Shatner's face that they were going to use for something to do with the TV series, with the Star Trek series and stuff. And the thing was kind of just laying around, and nobody quite thought about, whose mold it was from. And they used that for his mask. And then some years later, Shatner actually found out that they used the mask that they, were going to make for, something of his. So, that's our little trivia bit of the day.
Wow,
Shatner's
that's
face.
interesting. And speaking of Shatner, isn't he going to space at the age of 92? Did you hear about this?
I heard that he's going to, that he's going to do a little fly around in space. And it's, it's great permission, a promotion for the space program to have, he's iconic, Star Trek, Captain Kirk is going to space. I think it's such a great story.
Yeah.
So they did it. He's not a kid, and, but I'm sure they've gone through all kinds of medical testing to make sure that he was, going to be okay to go through the rigors of that.
I mean, I might be exaggerating. I mean, is he in his late 80s? Or I thought he was 92, but I couldn't.
No, I don't think he's.
We'll have Johnny look at his, age, but I thought he was like in his 90s.
I thought 80s, but
80s.
But in either case, he's 90. He's 90. Wow.
Oh, he is 90. Okay, so wow. So
look, if he's physically fit to go into space, more power to him. I mean, it's just amazing. But that's a great story. I mean, it really does a lot to bring attention to the space program and things like that.
It'd be great if he wears that mask.
Yeah, right.
Instead of a helmet to go to the space.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see. It'll be fun.
Well, the other big news, I guess, is the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees. I don't know what the short...
IATSE.
Yeah, okay. They are going on strike, which is kind of a big deal because that's going to stop a lot of, as it is with COVID, we have so many restrictions going on. And now that things are starting to come back, these guys, for those of you guys that don't know, this is like all of the crew that works behind the scenes, right, Larry?
Yeah, this is, IATSE is one of the most powerful unions in the media and entertainment world. There are some others that are, Teamsters and folks like that, but IATSE really does cover a lot of the jobs in production. And the way I understand it, what they voted was if they couldn't come to a satisfactory conclusion on the contract, is are the members willing to go on strike? And what came back was yes, the members are willing to go on strike. So if they don't find a contract negotiation that's to everybody's satisfaction, there will be a strike and production will come to a halt. Okay. You can't produce anything without IATSE participation there. And really what it comes down to, we talked a little about Scarlett Johansson and Disney, but we've entered this new world of media and entertainment distribution and how people consume media.
Yeah.
And a lot of these contracts are written before streaming and things became a big deal, and before people would launch projects simultaneously in theaters and on TV and stuff like that. So the studios or the production companies have really been looking to try and lessen the rates that they pay IATSE members because under the the guys that it's that, oh, this is not TV, it's streaming.
Yeah.
Which I think is a bunch of BS. At the end of the day, as I've always said, if I'm a producer and you watch my stuff on a 60-inch, an iPad, a cell phone, whatever, I don't care where you watch it as long as you watch it.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I mean, we're storytellers. I don't think of something, this is TV, this is streaming and stuff like that. And streaming has brought a lot more workaround. There's a lot more, need for content now than there ever was before, because you got Netflix and Hulu and Amazon and Paramount Network and, Disney and HBO Max and all of these. So, the unions and the guilds are, waking up to the fact that their existing contracts really never took into account how dramatically that streaming was going to affect it. And, now everybody wants what they consider their fair share. So we're going to go through some bumpy times. It's not going to be an easy contract for people to do, because the studios have to commit to certain money.
Yeah.
Well, yet the real values of streaming haven't been proven in a non-COVID time. I think audience is clearly up because of COVID, but what happens when that goes away? I mean, are people still going to consume Netflix to the same rate, or are they going to start going back to the theaters? And the answer is, really, we don't know. So for the studios to commit to paying based on the way things were during COVID puts them, fairly at risk of overpaying, at some point.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. So I think that's what that's what the heart of the matter is, right?
Yeah, and for whether it be major television series or theatrical releases, IATSE is a key union that you have to somehow come to terms with and work with. Otherwise, you just can't produce.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, let's take a short break, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. So there was this touching moment with Tony Bennett and Lady Gaga. Tell us a little bit more about that, because I guess you were telling me this before the show, and I got really touched, and I thought to bring it up and talk about it.
I've had the good fortune to actually meet him.
Oh, wow.
I met him in New York. His daughter Johanna got me great seats to come to his performance at Radio City. So I actually went, Mr. D and I, from kind of the fashion world. So we went there, and then we got to meet him after and stuff. And here's a guy in his 90s, and the performance is like amazing. And he comes out of that Sinatra era stuff, and just style-wise, I don't know anybody who's like him, or I can't imagine anybody will ever be like him. He was just great. But, he's kind of moved, into the modern age, which is amazing. I mean, he's been performing with Lady Gaga. And so he did some things with him. They've done some albums together. And there was a great piece on 60 Minutes the other night. Unfortunately, Tony Bennett has Alzheimer's. And they were talking about how unfortunate it is that a lot of his great memories are erased. But then what it did, it dove into the fact that he was actually now going to go out and perform with Lady Gaga again, live. And there was all this controversy about it, would he be embarrassed and stuff? And what was amazing about it was that when they performed, even though sometimes his memory, he didn't remember lots of stuff, he remembered the words to all the songs.
Oh, wow.
And it was just amazing to see. And he remembered Gaga. And she was like so unbelievably touched by the fact that her friend, out of all the things to remember, he remembered her, he remembered his songs and stuff. And it really got into the whole issue of, the effect of music on people's brains and stuff. I mean, to think that, he couldn't remember, let's say, his own family, or, on occasion couldn't, but yet when he got out there in front of an audience, he could sing and style, and, I mean, he was Tony Bennett again. So it was great. It was just this amazingly touching piece. I actually posted a picture of me and Tony Bennett on the internet, and I probably got more people responded to that than ever responded to any Facebook post I've ever done. And everybody was just amazingly touched. I mean, there's nobody I know that, doesn't recognize Tony Bennett as, kind of a once-in-a-lifetime talent and stuff. So, it was sad to see, but it was fun to see Tony back out there with Gaga and them having a good time on stage.
That's wonderful. Wow, what a touching story.
Yeah. We've got an interesting guest coming up.
Yeah, I was going to ask you to introduce our guest today. We're excited to have a guest in the studio today.
Yeah, so we've got, and it's going to be fun talking, we have Richie Rich, who comes out of the fashion and design world, and Richie was, famous and still famous as being, one of the club kids in New York, and he's designed, clothing from Madonna to Gaga, friends with Paris Hilton and stuff like that. I mean, you can't go to a nightclub with Richie without people recognizing him and, coming over. So he's got great celeb stories and stuff. So it'll be fun. We actually got to know each other a lot. There's a new project going to launch, I think, within 2 weeks called Beauty Queen.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And it's a social media platform with lots of content. And it really is geared heavily towards, not just to, but heavily towards the LGBTQ community, giving them a place and a voice and stuff where, I call it kind of the Mickey Mouse Club where, you can kind of go home and there's going to be people you feel comfortable with and expressing yourself to. And so Richie and Mr. D are the main folks there. I'm on the advisory board and stuff like that. And it's just been fun, I mean, for me, I've got to learn a lot about the fashion world and the makeup world and the beauty world and the LGBTQ world and stuff like that. But it's going to be great to have Richie here, and Richie's got great stories. So let's...
That's the thing with you, Larry. You're so ahead of your time. When you started it was the same way. You could see in the future. You could see what was happening and the cultural influence. And now look, you're right back looking at the future and what's happening right now. So that's the thing that I think what makes you and very unique in the space of television and pop culture.
Well, yeah, and people always ask me why, and other than, my mother did drop me on my head when I was 1 year old, so maybe that's
Besides
it. Or
that.
I grew up in a poor neighborhood in Brooklyn, and but it was amazing how many people came out of there, from Lou Gossett to Neil Diamond to Neil Sedaka. It's the #1 high school in America for Nobel Prize winners. We actually just had another one come out of that high school just literally last week, and so we think maybe it was something in the water, but whatever it is, it's
But keep it up. Whatever it is, you started it many years ago, and you continue to do so. So I'm excited to meet Richie Rich. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have our guest here sitting with us. So don't go away. Welcome back with our wonderful guest. Larry, why don't you introduce our wonderful guest for today?
Sure.
Please.
Richie Rich, kind of an iconic person out of the fashion and celebrity world and stuff like that. And Richie was first out, or I first became aware of Richie when he was known as a club kid. Rich, what is a club kid?
Well, by the way, I love you both. Thank you for having me, everybody.
Thank you for being here.
Boom, boom. All right, so I didn't even know what a club kid was. I grew up here in California, and and my father worked for the New York Times. We would go to Broadway shows, But then we moved to California, in Jersey, sorry. And then we moved to California when I was 12. And then I was a figure skater, but I'd sneak out of my house, and I would go to clubs in San Francisco with my good friends, and we would do our makeup at the Burger King bathroom, and just we were very inspired by Bowie and the Sex Pistols and just many amazing musicians. Hello, and as yourself, and so so people are you're a club kid. I'm what at? And then I moved to New York and in the club scene, and there was a whole scene there, and Larry started everything red carpet with Joan Rivers, and my first TV foray was on the Joan Rivers show in New York. The first week I moved there, and I met Bowie, and I met Grace Jones, and Madonna, and everybody. And it was
So you met him in New York too?
not yet, and then with one of my besties, Mr. D, met Larry. I knew of Larry. I wasn't stalking you or anything, but I knew of you because you're major. And yeah, so the Club Kid, like, you basically, like, we plan parties everywhere, like in New York, but also LA, Miami, Europe, Japan, and just basically, like, it's kind of like a gang of fun and like making your own clothes, and that's how I got into the fashion world. And
Wow, he's so cool. I couldn't get into clubs.
oh,
Now,
cool.
well, I had the same problem. I was telling Richie I would try and get into Limelight, and they never would let me in. And I found out it was because of him I couldn't get in.
It was not. I swear, I never did the door. It wasn't me. I would have you in 2 seconds. Duh.
But I want to get into a lot of the fun celebrity stories. But before we do that, you're working with Mr. D, who's our mutual friend, on this new thing called Beauty Queen.
Yeah.
What is Beauty Queen?
So basically, like, so Mr. D, like, I almost want to be his publicist because he doesn't shoot his own boom. Like, I mean, we met years ago in New York, like Fashion Week, and he worked with Gianni Versace, who I also had met over the years, and Donatella, and like he worked with Victoria's Secret and Francois Nars launching his makeup line, and Ed Hardy here in LA, like. So, I don't know, we always want to do something together. I had a line called Heatherette, and then he was doing his thing, I was doing my thing, and so finally we thought, like, kind of like the House of Style and MTV style in the 90s, like, what is everything that, like, that you created, like, pop culture, just in general, like, so Beauty Queen isn't just about makeup, it's about the makeup of everything in the world, of, like, it could be sports, it could be a magician, it could be, it all starts with the makeup, like, we all have a persona, boom, boom. Even if you don't wear blush, it's like it's just a fun. We call it the Glam Gang, and it's just going to be a fun virtual in your pocket of your hand on your phone, and we're going to travel the world and just throw fun things. And say you're bored in your bedroom and you're like, I want a party right now. You just look at us, and we're going to invite you in. No red velvet rope needed.
That's a nice thing, right?
And when are we going to see this?
It's coming out in 3 weeks. Boom.
Wow.
Very, very cool.
So just before Halloween, which I think is very fitting.
Perfect.
Because
So-
every day is Halloween.
Richie, you're known to have dressed some of the major rock and roll figures on there. So we need you to name drop.
Sure.
Who did you design for?
So in the very beginning, I was just making clothing for myself, my friends, and like my mom. I give my mom the credit because like skating, like it wasn't that cool to be a boy skating back then. Like now it's like Johnny Ware walks in my shows and amazing people like that. I trained with Christy Yamaguchi. Like I would sketch and my mom would sew my skating competition looks. And then I joined the Ice Capades, so I'd hang out in the costume department, and with this queen named Jerry who was so cool, and he taught me how to rhinestone and everything. Hence, hello. So then, New York. Fast forward. Patricia Field, friend of mine, like she was doing Sex in the City. I didn't really know what that was yet because it was just coming out. And my good friend David LaChapelle, the photographer, I basically was like through my friend Suzanne Barsh, who's a club promoter. I know I'm going everywhere. She's like, oh, why don't you put like some of your clothing in like Pat Field's store? And I'm like, sure. So I did, and then within like the next 2 days, Foxy Brown wore one of my leather halter tops to the MTV Awards. Then Little Kim. Then David called me. He's like, oh, why don't you do Mariah Carey? We're doing her Glitter album. So I did the album cover with him. And my friend Trevor doing Heatherette with me. And we just made up the name out of Grace Jones, Warm Leatherette, and this girl Heather I knew. And we're like, Heatherette sounds like a cool name. And then Missy Elliott, Gwen Stefani, the Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, Madonna, I don't know, just kind of, and then Aerosmith, Steven Tyler called me, I did his tour, I don't know, and then Pamela Anderson's a good friend of mine through David, and did a year tour with her, like, we called it a muse, and she was my muse, and then, I don't know, Miley Cyrus, TLC, God, I can go on, but
I've heard that Madonna lady or somebody.
Madonna, I live for her, like, boom. And Ariana Phillips, yeah, had one of our tracksuits on her, covered in camera, like very like Warholian, like inspired by like silk screening and stuff we were doing, and I don't know, just like fun. Like it's all about that. And then when I was in high school, I would save my money to go to Burger King, putting the makeup on, and I loved MAC. And then I ended up doing a line with MAC Cosmetics, which was super fun, and
that's wonderful.
all that stuff. And yeah,
Wow.
and then
Out of all the designers out there today, who do you think is kind of like really hitting it out of the park?
oh, I love so my I just met him with my good friend Drew Elliott, that's the head of MAC now, and his his boyfriend is Christian Cohen, who I love. He just dressed Sweetie for the Met Gala. I love Christian. He has that pop culture boom. I love Jeremy Scott. I love the Blondes. I love anybody who just has their that fun vibe to themselves, like, and just colorful and personalities, and put them on the runway and have fun.
We need a little bit of that, you and me, Larry.
Oh yeah, talking about the Met Ball, the Met Ball, from my knowing it over the last, let's say, 10 years or so, has always been chock with celebrities. It was like, every major actress or actor and stuff would all be there. This year, from what I understand, was a little bit less emphasis on celebrities and heavy emphasis on, quote, influencers.
Yeah.
Well, what's your feelings about that?
I mean, I feel like, well, first of all, I was very fortunate to have, I did a deal with Hello, well, I didn't even do it, okay, so, Club Kid days,
Yeah.
Hello Kitty, the character, and I think she's a real character, like real person, or kitty, and, she wasn't really in America a lot, and I was going to Japan singing, I had some music out, and so I did a Hello Kitty line, and then I called Sanrio, that is Hello Kitty, and they're like, wait, what? And so they were like, let's bring it back to Japan and like do a line with Kitty. So I did that. So then I did this dress made of like with my friend Trevor, all these Hello Kitty stuffed animals, like boom, and they put it in the Met 2 years ago for the camp exhibition, Notes on Camp. And it's with a Gautier and Vivienne Westwood and, I mean, you name me, Goulart, like everybody I grew up loving. And so I felt very like spasically honored about that. And then I think Anna Wintour, I think what she did this year with the Met, back to your question, is I think, so much is on social media and everything. I think she wanted to invite some of these influencers to mix with J-Lo and all the celebrities and all that. And because it's kind of how the world's going now. Like, I have to get better at social media, though. Like, I'm not a king of it.
But isn't the line blurred? I mean, this is something I wanted to ask you, because Kim Kardashian is going to host Saturday Night Live, and there's been some backlash from quote-unquote real actors and actresses. I forget exactly the names of who came out. They came forward and saying, why are you having Kim Kardashian hosting Saturday Night Live? So I think the line is being blurred between people that are extremely talented actors that are, doing big movies, as opposed to somebody who's an influencer.
Well, yeah, but I think the term influencer is a little bit demeaning for what it is. It's somebody who achieves the status of celebrity. And regardless of how you could be a musician, you could be somebody with just strong opinions that people follow, you could be a great actress. But your impact on the world and society is, it's no different between a Kim Kardashian or, a Brad Pitt or, somebody like that. They have tremendous capability of influencing public opinion on, whatever the subject is. So, I give Kim a lot of credit and stuff. I mean, she's done amazing stuff. I mean, gets a bad rap on stuff. But you look at her going to law school and really working on prison reform and stuff like that. I mean, she's taking her popularity and her influence and putting it to, the good of the world or the good of the people and stuff. And people should just get off her back and recognize that she's doing the right thing, and she's putting her influence to work for a better world.
So as long as you have the influence, no matter who you are and what you do, doesn't really matter, as long as you influence.
I think it qualifies you as a celebrity, and I think the hosts of Saturday Night Live need to be celebrities. Her following is as big as any actress out there, if not bigger.
I mean, you created E, and I mean that is the ultimate of entertainment. Kim walked in my Heatherette show and like with Jenna Jameson and P Diddy came and everybody and like at the time like reality TV, the Osbournes started that off, and then I remember Paris Hilton when she went to Arkansas to do The Simple Life. She was in my show in LA here, and I think it's not easy being on a reality show, especially because you expose your whole life. You're almost acting in a way, but you're being you. So yeah, I agree with you.
You're trying to be you. I mean, people. It always cracks me up when people say, "Oh, that's the real thing,"
Right.
and I'm going, like in Survivor, I go, "Oh my God, so and so could fall off the cliff," and I'm going, "Do you think the 100 people on the crew are going to let so and so fall
totally.
off the cliff? It ain't going to happen." So it's it's reality in a way.
One of my favorite. I haven't met her yet, and I obviously would love to. I think I've been in the same room with her, but Jennifer Lawrence, I love her because she's such a Kardashian fan. But I love her because she's like, I sat on this historic rock, and like when they were filming the Hunger Games in Hawaii, and I mean, she's just so real. But then she snapped, the camera's gone, and she's like the character, and like I think she plays it well. Like,
yeah. You were telling us a great story before that I just want to repeat it because I think our audience will get a kick.
Sure.
About the backstory on how the song "Shallow" actually got made with Bradley Cooper.
So, all right, so Mark Ronson, like, who's incredible. I've known him forever. Like the Club Kid days. Like my friends and I hired him as a DJ, and his whole family is amazing. And so then then he was producing Amy Winehouse and then Gaga. So Bradley Cooper reached out to Gaga. She talked about it in Vogue, and he's like, "Oh, I just saw you at this party, this event in LA, I think, like La Vie en Rose," she sang. And he's like, "I want to do The Star Is Born, a remake." So she went to her house in Malibu, and she made him Italian dinner, and boom, 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 boom. And he's like, they played on the piano, she's playing, and he's sang, and she's like, "I didn't know you could sing, your voice is a boom." But my thing is, and I love Gaga, I've known her since she's Stephanie and Gaga, and I live for her. But my thing is, like, when she won the Oscar with Mark Ronson and her team, I'm like, they sang at the Oscars that night. Why didn't Bradley get an Oscar too? Like, I always feel like the Oscars are so like picky. You know more than me about this, but I'm like, I feel like Bradley deserved one. I'm like, Gaga, give him an Oscar, boo.
It's changing, I mean, you kind of had, this legacy stuff, the history of it that they maintained, and the people who were doing the voting got older and stuff like that. But I think there's a real movement now to make it more inclusive and diverse, and kind of bring it to the modern age. It takes time.
True.
You don't get rid of 100 years worth of history in overnight. So, but
I know they're doing that with the Recording Academy.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a member of the Recording Academy, and I vote for the Grammy Awards.
Congratulations on everything you've accomplished.
Thank you very much. Thank you. But that's kind of what they're doing. They let go of a bunch of members.
Yeah.
They brought in new members, and some of the higher ups. They were pushed out or whatever, resigned or retired. New members came in, so there's a real movement to shift things, right? To change it. I don't know much about the Motion Picture Academy, but I know that's what's happening because I'm involved in the Recording Academy.
It's the same, it's taken a little bit for it to catch on, but there's this realization that you can't get, I call it, stuck in the 80s. You can't be stuck in the 80s. You need to maintain being relevant.
Yeah.
And you're relevant because you're not just dealing with what's today, but you're also being a little bit, out there and thinking about what's tomorrow and what are the next trends and stuff like that. So, the worst thing you could do, I think, in the media and entertainment business is you kind of get stuck in, the nostalgia stuff as opposed to realize that, the world is changing. It's become more diverse, in terms of ethnicity and stuff like that, and then just geography. Used to be Hollywood was the center of the world.
Yeah.
And, if you weren't in Hollywood, you couldn't make any kind of media. But now, you can make movies anywhere in the world. You can make movies on your cell phone. You don't need big studios to make interesting content and stuff. So, it's coming around. People are realizing that, staying relevant requires having an open mind to where the world is going as opposed to where it's been.
Same with Golden Globe, right? I think they're finally making
the Globes have got, they've got an interesting challenge because not only do they have to jump into the next decade, they got to kind of fix the damage that was done to their reputation because
Yeah.
they were so stuck in the 80s kind of
Yeah. Yeah.
stuff.
I mean, that's so, Richie. I love your name, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
And how did you get your name? Can you?
Well, in kindergarten, like when I was like 5 years old, I don't know. Suddenly at school, everybody just started calling me Richie Rich. Like they're like, I had blonde hair, and I don't know, and it just kind of was like annoying. And then over time, like when I started doing club things when I was like 16, 15, 16, and I remember somebody was like, "What's your club name?" I'm like, "Well, everybody calls me Richie Rich," and like so I made a joke of it. I would just wear like the rapper $ necklaces and all
Yeah.
that stuff, and the gold
Yeah.
teeth, and like.
Yeah.
And it all comes back around,
Yeah.
like fashion even, like it all
Yeah.
gorgeousizes itself, if that's a word. And it's like Gaga, like Tony Bennett. It's like she can do the pop and then she can do the jazz, and I think that's so cool. Like,
Yeah. She's a real unique artist because she could do, like you said, the pop stuff, and then she could stand right next to Tony Bennett. Where Larry and I were talking about the story with Tony Bennett a little while back on this show, and she's able to pull that off. But what are so tell us a little bit about your future plans. I know you're in New York. You're
Yep.
here with us here in Los Angeles, which we're very fortunate to have you in the studio. So that's really
oh my
fun.
God, I was so excited to be here with you. Like,
It's
thank
really
you so
fun.
much.
So what? So fashion. I mean, tell us
Yeah.
like some of the things you're thinking about, and I want to also get your view on what's going on with the pop culture. How do you
Totally.
see the future? I'm interested in all of that. So
Back to the Richie Rich. So my real name is Richard. So like when I'm
Yeah.
in trouble with my family, I'm Richard. But otherwise, I'm Richie. But I don't know. Like I'm just excited about. I just get excited about glitter and this and that, and I feel like fashion right now is in a really fun place because I feel like it's not so like in that world where it's snotty. Like it's like I love Virgil at Louis Vuitton right now. Like he, you could have the streetwear that's so cool. Like the rappers were back in the '80s kind of day. Like refined, but also still cool. And like, I don't know. I just see like it all just blending. Everything's together. And my runways have always been like, I mean, Naomi Campbell's walked in my show with a skater boy that I meet on the street, with a girl I cast at the Red Lobster, like, and then Paris Hilton. Like, I just think it's always been every size, shape, and ethnicity to me. Like, I never had any rules because I didn't grow up like that. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm happy everybody's like a melting pot now more.
you're
Like,
an artist. That's what
So-
it's all about, right?
Yeah, I mean, Rich, you got this rich history with all these amazing, iconic celebrities and stuff, and now you're off on primary product as beauty queen.
Yeah, so
And
Beauty
so-
Queen is basically like all of that together, like that we want to just like embody and just inspire people and inspire ourselves.
Are we going to see a lot of these people joining you on Beauty Queen?
Of course, you know me. Don't ask, don't get. I'm gonna beg them to be on Beauty Queen.
Good.
Boom, boom.
That's
Wonderful.
good. Well, we can't wait for it to come out, and
Oh,
we're
thank
looking
you.
forward to it. And I think it's groundbreaking. And what
I'm
you
like,
and Mr. D are
I'm
doing.
still starstruck by everybody. I am starstruck by anybody who has the confidence to be who they are. I think it's so amazing. Like both of you, like, so that's the Beauty Queen tag. Hey,
Well,
good.
join
we
the glam
wanna
gang.
Thank you so much, Richie, for
you.
coming on the show. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Come back anytime.
Don't say that. I'll come back every day.
Come back every time we're in the studio. We love to have you here.
Oh, thank you.
I know you don't come around very often, but Los Angeles is cool, right?
Well, now that the world's opening up more and more, like I love coming here. Like,
I would
for
love
sure.
to have you. So, yeah. So it's been a wonderful show, Larry. It's been great.
It was a
talking
fun
about-
one. It's always fun to have someone like Richie around. Because we have
Yeah,
all these
yeah.
great
You really
stories.
liven up the show.
Ah, thank you. I love you.
You
Lighting
know?
it up. Boom.
So, guys, thank you very much for watching the show. And if you have any comments, please put it in the comments down below. And Larry and I and Johnny, we usually go through the comments and try to get back to you guys. Thank you to Richie again for being on the show. So cool. Look at those
Ooh.
cool sunglasses.
Always be you, bitches. Hello.
And we will see you on the next show. Thank you.
Adios.